Good morning and welcome to SolidusConf 2019. It is so inspiring to see amazing Solidus developers here from all around the world, from as far as Italy to as close as right here in Salt Lake City with Deseret Book. What you do, your passion and your love for this platform, your hard work and dedication are what brought us all here together today. It makes our dreams come to a reality, come true. And it is so inspiring to see you all here today. I can't wait to share my hot sauce with you and many other things at this conference. So let's jump in. This is just a quick table of contents about what we're going to be reviewing here. First, planning, then technical SEO, moving into original content, and offsite promotion. But before we really jump into that information, I'd like to just say thank you. First of all, thank you to our conference sponsors. Thank you to our core team, who's been working very hard. And of course, most of all, thank you to our community, who's all been working together to make this platform a reality. So a big round of applause to everybody here. A little bit about me. I know you got a little intro. I want to tell you a little bit more. I love hot sauce. My brother-in-law grew all those peppers. That's a picture of some bone broth at the bottom. I've been making that this year, very healthy and delicious. I've been chopping wood. I love hiking. I love to play guitar. Of course, I love to work out. I don't know how anybody can work in this industry without getting some physical exercise. A little bit about Karma Creative. You may have seen this slide last year, but I left it in because it really expresses our values very well. At Karma, we believe in giving back. First, that starts with the developer, meaning that we pay people fairly wherever they live, no geolocational arbitrage. Second of all, it means helping clients succeed in their business, not just making a website. It's very important to us. It also means giving back to the open source community and making sure that we give back wherever we can. And finally, it means building long-term relationships with clients rather than short engagements, so that we can provide holistic digital services. Now, by holistic services, I mean photography, graphic design, web development, social media, everything working together in tandem to try to provide that business value that the client is looking for. So let's jump into the meat of the talk. First of all, planning. First tip I have for you, which is perhaps the most important, start early on SEO. You got to start running right now. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I said this last year. It's true. So start planning your SEO strategy before your website's released. And let's talk about keywords first. Keywords are key. One of my favorite tools that I found this year while researching was this one, Answer the Public. It provides a really nice visual representation of keyword generation around question keywords, which are great for long tail keyword targeting and also voice search, which is very important. We're going to talk about it in a little bit. But as you can see, it really organizes you in such a great way where you can just kind of pull any of those questions off and make a blog post about it if that's what you want to use for your content strategy. But you know, there's 101 tips in this talk, so if I go through all of them this slow, we won't get through 101 of them. So here's another list of tools where we can all use for keyword generation. Of course, there's BuzzSumo's Question Analyzer, Ahrefs, LSI Graph for those latent semantic keywords. You can just do searches in forums for non-exact keywords to use. 5-Minute Site is another really nice resource around local keywords. So you can add in city names targeted by zip code, that kind of thing. Also, you can use Keyword Tool IO, which is great, and Amazon's autofill tool. And as we talked about last year, this is a great place for keywords, especially that have high buyer intent. You know, with keywords, we're looking for that magic combination of a low keyword difficulty, meaning there's not a lot of competition, high search traffic, and a high buyer intent. And Amazon's keywords, they're targeted all around that. So we can then look at a few other keyword sources. Google and Apple's autocomplete, Google's box that says people also ask. Remember, we're just rolling through these, generating a big list of keywords. You'll notice that as we go through the talk, some of the tips are highlighted in green. These are the tips that I think, if you don't take anything else away from this presentation, you should be focused on. There's a lot in here, and I can understand it can kind of get a little overwhelming. So these are the ones I felt like were most important for you to focus on if you don't take anything else. And here in keyword research, Google Ads, keyword and planner tool. If you're doing keywords research, you have to check this out. Also, Google searches related to box. So we're done with keyword research, although we'll come back to keywords throughout the presentation. Let's talk a little about voice search. But first, why should you care about voice search? Well, 60% of searches from mobile are voice searches today, right now, over half of mobile searches. And more than half of global traffic is coming from mobile. So you do the math. You put these two things together, voice is very important. So let's talk about some tips related to that. Using long tail keywords of 5 words or more, not these old school 3-word, but like a 5-word keyword. Switching from generic keywords to question keywords, how do, how does, why is this, where do I get? And of course, using question search engines like Quora, Yahoo Answers, Ask Jeeves, even Ask Jeeves. Just look up, find different questions that you could be asking, find what people are searching for within your topic. Another important one, I love this tip, is to create an FAQ page. This targets long tail keywords, and it targets those question keywords in voice. And it can even impact EAT, which we're going to talk about in just a little while, to improve your expertise or perhaps your authority or trust within your space. This is a great tip, write that one down. We can also use local intent keywords, such as neighborhood, city, and state. We talked about using that tool 5-Minute Site to generate some of those keywords. And of course, if we're talking about voice search, you want to fill in your Google listings so that when people search to find out your hours, maybe Google will even give you the answer verbally. Let's talk about EAT. That's the next thing. This is the latest, greatest, hottest thing in SEO right now. Really, it comes from the Quality Rater Guidelines. So Google has this process where they have a whole bunch of individual people, 10,000 or so of them, rating their websites using a document called the Quality Rater Guidelines. And from that, we can extract some important information about how the algorithm works. Now, these guidelines don't directly impact the algorithm. They're more like a comment card that a restaurant gives out after the service is already done. It's kind of just a feedback check. But in these guidelines, one of the most important things that recently came out is the concept of expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. These 3 things tell Google that you're a site that they should be providing to their users. We recently had an update on Your Money and Your Life, where they got a lot stricter about this around any products that are being sold or any information related to your health. So what does it really mean? They sound kind of similar. Well, expertise, that means you're an expert in your field. You're really knowledgeable. Authoritativeness means other people agree that you're knowledgeable, not just you have the knowledge, but other people have a consensus on it. And finally, trust. Do people trust you? Back in the Panda update in 2009, Google put out 23 different questions that we can ask, such as, would someone tolerate putting their credit card into your website to gauge trust? Well, back in the beginning of in August 1st, they came out with a new list of 22 questions, which you can again use to evaluate how much people will trust you. And they're all along this concept of EAT. So what can you do? What are some tips around these concepts? Expertise. Well, first off, we can just generate well-written content that has facts, maybe primary sources. We can also keep that content up to date. So you might have something in there and it changes. If it was a news article, there's some new information. You can provide those in relevant updates and even create new content. And you could even do something like adding a trusted badge to your footer, which Engine I remember mentioned last year. Authoritativeness. We can get links from websites that already have authority within their field. Really, this is about backlink. What are backlinks? Backlinks are essentially recommendations. So when someone links to you, like if you're a medical website and the American Pediatric Associated links to you, that's them giving you some sort of authority, of saying you're an authority in your space. We trust the information you're providing. You can try to get mentioned in the news or on a reputable media site, or you can even just get mentioned on Wikipedia or make your own page. Let's turn to trust. There's a couple things here. First off, add a contact us page. If you don't have one, you need to add one. You should have a phone number there. And you should make sure that that information is the same as what you find on your Who Is page. Google likes to see consistency across the web. This is an easy thing to do, like the FAQ page, if you don't already have it. Have a clear refund and return policy. This isn't rocket science, but if Google sees that, if the quality raters see that, they like that. That's going to provide an SEO boost. Have comprehensive specifications of the product. If the products are sold, don't just have a 1-word description. How many of us have had a website where there's a product up there and it has a very short description with 1 picture? Those just don't sell. And of course, add testimonials from customers. You can also add outbound links from your own site to other reputable sites to show that you can be trusted. You're not the only one giving this information. Look, other sources say the same thing. You can add a terms of service page and a privacy page. Again, indications that you should be trusted. These are standard practices for trustworthy members of the web. And you can provide supplementary content, which plays into a bunch of different things, including original content, in that people will spend more time on your website. If they're using, say, the loan calculator in your bank website, they're going to have a higher dwell time, so they're going to stay there longer. And the last thing we're going to talk about in trust is reviews. Everybody needs reviews. You need good reviews. Probably the most important source that Google mentions is the Better Business Bureau. But wherever you can get them, you need them. This is really social proof that your product is a good product and you can be trusted. Let's take a break for a second. Okay, break's over. Time for technical SEO. We made it through planning. Now let's try to focus on some things maybe we can take care of with code. We'll roll through these real quick. First, keep URLs as short as possible. Make sure to have your keywords in those URLs. Make sure that any spaces are dashes, not underscores. Reduce or eliminate your parameters in those URLs as possible to concentrate your search juice. And make sure to use SSL. We should all be doing that, right? Check to make sure there's only one version of your website accessible. We mentioned this last year, but it's still an important tip. You still see sites where there's more than one version out there. It should just be one of these four. This one here is a very important tip highlighted in green. You should do an audit of your own site. Use a tool, use Ahrefs, use Screaming Frog, audit it. Do you have missing links or broken links? Do you have missing alt text? Do you have titles that are too long? Do you have duplicate content? This is something that can be done in only a few hours and can provide really valuable insights and low-hanging fruit for you to grab. And while we're on the topic, another low-hanging fruit is Google Search Console. If you're not using this is probably the #1 tip from the whole talk. Use Google Search Console. You should be registered there. Google will tell you what's wrong with your site. Google will provide feedback. And there's even some enhancements that we'll go over in the structured data, like products, like recent improvements to Search Console. They're still working on it. Talking about mobile for a second, we don't have too much to talk about it, but you do need to make sure that your mobile content that you're serving is the same as your desktop content. If you're not doing that, Google now penalizes you for that. They want to see a consistent experience, and they're indexing mobile first now, meaning the version of your website indexed is the mobile version. You're just going to see some sort of penalty if you also have content that's on desktop that you don't show on that mobile first indexed version. A few do's for metadata. Make sure every page on your site has a title tag. This is probably the most important SEO element. It shouldn't be that you sell educational toys and the title of your page is education dash the name of your website. That's not descriptive, and Google doesn't like to see that. You should have toys in your name if the page is educational toys. We get trapped in categories sometimes. Maybe that category is education, and that's how we go down these rabbit holes. But we need to make sure our title tag is quality, not just programmatically generated, but a good title tag. And you want to place your keyword at the beginning of it. And you want to carry through those keywords in your image file names and any alt tags you use. And when it comes to the title tag, check your results. Look at what you're seeing in Google and see if you're getting truncations or anything like that. A few don'ts. Don't use home or profile or any kind of generic words. And don't spend any time at all on meta keywords. These do not matter at all and are just completely useless at this point. Ignore them. Next is the description. A lot of people tell you this doesn't matter. And while it's true it doesn't directly impact your index, it does impact your ultimate ranking because it impacts the modification engine. When you have a really good meta description on your page, it acts like a Google ad, getting people to click through more often to your site. And when the click-through rate is higher, you'll get a boost in your rankings. So, and this second part talks about make sure, absolutely, this should be obvious, but your meta description isn't the same over all of your pages. Google will penalize this. They might even pull in your nav text, and that's terrible. So let's all make sure to set a sensible meta description. Moving on from metadata, we can talk about structured data a little bit. JSON LD is our preferred choice. And really what this is doing is providing extra information to Google so we can have rich product snippets and things like that in the search results. You can get that 0 result of the answer box doing this. Or for products, you can get your products listed at the top of the page. You can utilize Search Console's new feature to check how your product structured data is performing, even without using the structured data testing tool. But then, of course, you can just run over to the structured data testing tool and test all of your pages for all the different kinds of structured data that you have, not just products. And also, of course, you can use our new gem, Solidus SEO, which does almost all of this for you, and a little more on that later. So let's optimize for speed. We're going to need some speed to get over this jump. First, we're going to know how fast we're going. You can use a tool like webpagetest.org or Pingtum's website speed test, Ahrefs, YSlow. These are all tools to check how fast you're going. And then once you can know how we can improve from there. So what's the first thing we want to do to improve? Reduce or redirect redirects as much as possible. We don't want those redirects. They slow us down. This is simple, but minify CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. Make sure you gzip any of those assets that are over 150 bits. And configure paperclip to optimize all your images. That is, if you use paperclip. And if you do, Solidus SEO, again, does this for you. If you don't, optimize your images anyway. It's very important to page speed. Let's talk about cache. Everybody loves cache, right? You want to make sure to use consistent URLs, identify which resources can be cached, and cache them with CDN to make sure that we have the shortest possible distance for the data to travel. And here's an important tip. We want to make sure to minimize churn by pulling out any of those resources that change frequently so that they can be updated on their own and we don't have to clear the whole cache for one little typo or something like that. Load time is important too, performance, and there's a few things that we need to do fast. We need to check for bottlenecks. We don't want to perform slowly on N+1 queries, slow routing, slow typing. That's all going to get in the way of our speed. We want to make sure to reduce DNS lookups. We're already up to 66 now, so bear with me. We're making it there. 66 is a very important tip, though. We want to define a critical load path. Think about what you're loading above the fold. Is there a way that you can load part of your page, the part that's first render, before the rest of it? Google sees this as a faster speed. So you don't necessarily have to improve the speed on your whole page if you can focus on that part above the fold. Okay, original content. Let's jump right in. Tip 67, avoid keyword cannibalization. Don't split your search juice over multiple pages. If you have a result at 5 and at 10, you might be able to rank at 2 if you weren't targeting that same keyword on both pages. Make sure you include at least your keyword in the first 100 words and another 2 to 3 times within the first 300 words. And definitely don't stuff your keywords. I mean, that second tip should cover the fact that you're not stuffing them, but don't stuff them. Like, Google hates that now. You can add modifiers such as 2019 or best or review to your title to help rank for some of these longer tail keywords. And you can try to predict the searches of your customers and possibly target content gap keywords where there's something that people are searching for and there's no good content for it yet. You can use targeted keyword lists to generate these topic ideas, perhaps even make a video. And while we're on the topic, let's talk about mind mapping the search intent, because Google interprets your search intent based on your query. They don't necessarily just look it up one-to-one. They're trying to figure out what you mean. If you have a movie called The Rock about breaking into Alcatraz and you have The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, if you type in The Rock, how does Google know which of those results to serve you? They're making a guess by interpreting your search intent. We can think about that search intent over the buying cycle, starting with attraction, where a need, but from real life events, meets intentions. And then consideration, where they're trying to think about how can I solve this problem? And then preference, why should they trust you? How are you different from competitors? And finally, conversion, why buy from you now? So how do your keywords that you're targeting group around these different content pillars, if you will? These could be the basis for a whole content strategy. And maybe these are even category names within a blog. Let's talk about quality of content. You got to focus on your text so it's digestible. So you can't have big block walls of text. No one's going to read that. Break it up. Add images. Add media. Add visual assets, images, diagrams, infographics. Infographics can be a great way to get backlinks too. Not to jump ahead, but you can share those around the web. People love that stuff. And of course, above all, avoid duplicate content. This is a no-brainer, but wherever it is, in your meta descriptions, in your title tags, on your pages, anywhere, avoid it at all costs. Google hates it. And post long content. I have an example here from last year. After the conference, we posted this one, SolidusConf 2018 recap, and it's an incredibly long article. I won't tell you exactly how long it is, but it's clearly over 9,000 words. And here we are actually ranking just over the conference website itself. Now, who wants to really go to the conference website from last year? But still, this illustrates the idea that if you post long content, that is one of the best things you can do to help you rank. Should avoid generic phrases, as we talked about in the title. You want to avoid it in your headings when you're in your content as well. And if you have any tiny little pages with just like 200 words, get rid of those. Those don't matter. They're probably hurting your overall ratings. And if you have to, choose list posts because these get the most links from other sites. If you're looking for a format of how to format your content, this is one of the best examples. Or maybe a list of tips, I don't know. Regularly update your content. Keep it fresh, like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. When you're updating pages, change more than just the date. Google can see how much you're changing. You want to make sure you're making significant changes. And if you have the budget and resources, make a podcast. Podcasts are now directly indexed by Google. Now, really what we're trying to do is build an audience. So if you don't have the resources, podcast actually isn't the way to go. You might not even want to get on social media yet. Maybe it's just building a newsletter and an audience there. But once you get to the point where you're ready, podcasts are a great way to convert people. As you can see, 25% of listeners have bought product after listening to a podcast. It's a really great resource for original content today. Let's talk about writing though a little bit. This tip 85 has a lot in it. Let's just roll through. You want to plan a piece that has the same things. This is a little bit of competitor analysis. The same things that the top 5 pieces have. So do a search for your keyword and look at those sites. You don't have to analyze with some special tool. Like look at each page and try to see how it does the different things that you want to do. See if you can make a page that meets search intentions faster or more concisely than those pages, that you tell readers exactly what they cover when maybe they don't. You can try writing for a lower reading age than your competitors, using a clearer structure and formatting, giving clear definitions of key terms where they don't. That's an example of that supplementary content. Expanding on the topic as you progress through the piece in a way that they don't. Have some personality in your rating too, have some tone. It doesn't have to all be dry and scientific, especially if it's not a dry scientific site. One of the most important ones from here, find and use primary sources. It might be a little bit tricky, but figure out some primary sources you can use. Solicit experts, go on the census data, figure out somewhere you can get primary sources. Take your own photographs even. This is a great way to insert original content. And you're quoting these efforts to include social proof. And at the end, tell readers what you're going to do next. Leave them with a strong call to action. You want to sprinkle in long tail versions of your keywords. That's why that's up there. And you can target replacing an existing piece of content performing well, say with 10 ideas, with 100. Tip 88, you can add a transcription of audio or video. This is really easy. You can pay someone to do this. You have audio or video on your site right now? Pay someone to transcribe it, throw it up on your site. Include a sitemap. Again, a no-brainer. Most of you are probably already doing this, but this helps your site gets indexed faster. Include a linked table of contents so that people can navigate around your site. And then also, so if someone's linking to your site, they can link right to that heading, that piece of content that they want. You can add internal links to your page. This is another ranking factor. You don't have to go overboard with it, but each one of your pages should provide some pathway to the other parts of your site. And finally, make sure that if you have any quotes, you include them in quote boxes. Don't just be lazy and put like little quote characters on them. Make it look nice. And make sure that you set an H1 tag that's concise and use H2 tags for your subheadings. We finally made it through original content. Let's talk about offsite promotion, and then we can do our closing. Link acquisition. Link acquisition really is just building backlinks to your site. As I said, these are recommendations from other sites that you're a reputable source. And if you can, make sure that these are within the body of the page, as high up on the page as possible. That's a lot more effective than if they're somewhere else on the page, like in the footer, down at the bottom, like off to the side. And make sure, if possible, that they're diverse links. None of this stuff about using private blog networks or anything like that from these weird sites. You want a diverse link profile, maybe some from news source, some from experts, all around the web. We also want to make sure that these links are properly attributed, especially if you're listing links on your site. Google recently came out with rel sponsored and rel UGC, which is user-generated content. You want to make sure that if you're including links in your site that are sponsored or user-generated, that they're marked appropriately. Google will like that. And again, don't buy links or spam content boxes or stuffed keywords. This just doesn't work. Consider using majestic citation flow to rank the quality of your backlinks instead of domain authority. It's a better indication of how much search use you'll get from those backlinks. Tip 100, I especially love. This is the Harrow method of building backlinks. It's called Help a Reporter Out. So you can sign up for these emails. They'll get placed in your inbox every day, and they're looking for information on a particular topic. So you sign up saying, I'm an expert in this, that, and the other thing. They email asking. If you're one of the first people to email back to answer the question, you have a chance that you're going to get cited in whatever that news or media article is, so that you can get a really high quality backlink, one that maybe you wouldn't be able to get otherwise by using this process. It's a little bit of a lottery, but it's another quality way that you can build backlinks. You also want to see who's linking to your competitors. And more specifically, what pages on your competitors' websites are they linking to? Just like we were talking about the SEO rating tips, do a little analysis. What's special about those pages? What makes them the kind of pages that other people want to link to? And can you make a page on that topic? Can you use that as an example to improve your own content possibly? Or maybe just as a topic idea of, you don't have a page like that, I'm now going to make a page on whatever that thing is that I found from my competitor that's being so heavily linked to. We can also do link reclamation for link building as well, though. It's not all about just building kind of new links. You can look around the web using a tool like BuzzSumo and find places where your name of your company is mentioned, but nobody's linking to you. And you can email them and say, hey, would you mind giving me a link? You're talking about my company. You can also use a tool like Link Miner to find broken links. So places on the internet where there's a link to something, and if you click on it, you get a 404. Well, you can make a new piece of content that's on that topic, email the person that runs that website, and try to get your new content linked in place of that old one. If they're fixing the link anyway, maybe they'll link to yours instead. It's possible they just end up fixing it and the URL had changed slightly and they point back to the original content, but it's also possible that you can take that link, and that's a great way. And speaking of the last point, infographics, if you make a really great infographic or images, you should use Google's reverse search. See if they're on the web somewhere. They might be listed already on some actually pretty high ranking domains that you could get great search juice from if you just emailed them and said, hey, by the way, you're using my infographic. Would you mind giving us a link? Ranking in local search. Local search obviously is more important if you have a brick and mortar, but I think it can have an impact for any site if done right. You can start by executing an outreach campaign to local businesses. This is an organic outreach campaign. This is not something online. You can even visit those businesses in person and try to make friends with those owners, make a new friend. And then the other side of this, besides that organic outreach, is building a citation network. You can do these directly yourself, manually. You can pay someone to enter them manually, or you can submit them to aggregators. But the bottom line is you want your business listed online in all the different directories. Google will see that, and they will like that and give you a boost. You need to make sure, though, that all the information is consistent. You don't want any situation where there's an address here and it's a little bit different, there's a phone number here and there's a different phone number there. Google will penalize you for that. Probably the most important thing in Google local search is claiming Google My Business profile. If you have not claimed this, you must claim this. This is one of the most important tips from the talk. It's more focused on local, but it's very, very important. It's the best and biggest low-hanging fruit you can take if you haven't done it yet. So finally, we move on to social media, our last offsite promotion. This may seem obvious, but create a Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram account and build your brands. It's been shown that accounts that have more engagement, likes, shares, follows, these are websites that link better, that rank better in search. Now, it's true, the links on social media don't directly impact your ranking, but Google does pay attention to how many people are posting and sharing different links. And if there's something that is being posted widely, you'll get a boost from that, even if you're not getting a boost, say, from a backlink from that social site. And while you're at it, why not create an official LinkedIn company page? That's another easy one. How many of you don't have one of those pages yet? If you don't, create one. It won't take very long at all. So now we're kind of getting into talking about interaction and how we improve interaction and ultimately build a following. You need to add prominent social media shares to your website, buttons to share. If you don't have any buttons, nobody's really going to share. I mean, occasionally people will take your link and post it themselves, but if you have a button that says click to share, that's golden. And maybe you could do that directly from within your content. You don't have to have a separate little widget only in your footer with a button that says Facebook, and if you click it, you share. You could be writing an article and midway down have a button that says share the tip that you just read. So that if someone really loved that tip, they're sharing that tip right away, pre-filled out. If you don't have enough time, and I was talking about this earlier with the podcast, and you can't focus on everything, focus on Facebook and Twitter. These are the ones that Google pays most attention to. And if you need to kind of narrow down your audience search, this is probably the best way you can do it. And if you make posts about things like king size mattress, well, then guess what? You're going to rank better for searches like king size mattress. And how do you build that following other than this? Again, there's no magic bullet. You keep your profile up to date. You post regularly with engaging, compelling content that people want to read. They want to visit your profile to check that thing out. And this can cause valuable opportunities and partnerships, perhaps, just to form kind of organically, just because people really like whatever it is that you're doing. And speaking of which, we can also seek out those influencers, either organic influencers or paid influencers, and try to get them to promote our brand in a way that feels very authentic, lending their own expertise, authoritativeness, and trust to your brands. So, in closing, we have 101 tips here. Actually, it's more than 101. How many we get to? 114, okay? I know it's a lot, so you might not want to do it all yourself. You might want to consider hiring an SEO. But what are some questions you could ask? You might not really know where to start. First question is, do they guarantee results? If they do, they're probably not worth anything because nobody can guarantee results in SEO. Are they transparent about their strategies? You can see I've demystified it. It's not some black box. They can tell you what they are going to do for you on a regular basis. If they tell you, oh, we can't provide access to the analytics or whatever the data is, I'm sorry, that's a bad sign. Another bad sign, do they use private blog networks or other shady black hat techniques? These increasingly do not work and increasingly are penalized. And in the future, I think will be penalized even heavier. Those are the indication that Google has been giving us lately. And finally, have they ever attended or participated or given talks on any SEO topics in any conferences? If this company is worth something, maybe you can go out and find a talk on how they are worth something. So from here, there's one other thing that we can do besides doing it ourselves and hiring someone. We could leverage the work in the community. So we're proud to announce the release of Solidus SEO. This is now listed on the extensions page. And this does some of this stuff for you. It doesn't do nearly all of it, but it does help you optimize your images, assuming you use paperclip. It does give you better metadata defaults and a to SEO interface to spit out more of that metadata. And it does add JSON LD structured data. Isn't it great when you get free work from the community like this that you can leverage in your own project? I think that that's fantastic. That's one of the things that draws me to Solidus. This is the power of open source. Solidus is open source. So let's talk about this for a second. What does Solidus give you? Complete control over your store, no licensing fee, a strong community and an even stronger core, support for high volume stores with varied and complex needs. And in fact, many outlying use cases and specific features have already been included in our platform. We all know this. So wouldn't it be great to leverage even more community supported work? And how, you might ask? Use open collective funding to hire a full-time open source maintainer who would work with and at the direction of the core team and the ambassadors to implement our new project roadmap. We need a roadmap. We need to implement new features. And I cannot tell you how happy I am that we are all here today to work together and to make that a reality. With a full-time maintainer working on the code, we can make commitments. And even if we don't meet all of them, I am a warrior. And even if we don't meet all of those commitments, trying is enough. Trying is better than not doing it. Having any roadmap and doing none of it is better than not saying anything and giving the community no direction. We need to have a roadmap. We need to keep this platform current And that's what we're going to get with that full-time maintainer. We're going to save money, all of us, cutting down on development time and costs, helping to deliver projects in a shorter amount of time. But what else? Are you not convinced yet? Are you not convinced that we need a full-time maintainer and we can do it as a community? We can make our customers happier with the finished products by providing more features and better UX, ultimately making more money, helping attract users to Solidus so it will continue to grow so we can increase our adoption rates and thrive in the future. Helping to keep Solidus and its community vibrant and strong together. And what does this all really mean when you put it all together? Make your business more profitable with less effort. That's what a full-time maintainer brings to the platform. It's not that as a community we can't do a ton without it. We can. We've shown that over the last year and previous to that as well. But bringing on a full-time maintainer, this would be different. This would be more profit with less effort. So how? Support Solidus. I'm asking from each one of you here today that cared enough to come to this conference, and each one of you online watching this talk whenever you do, to make a pledge to support Solidus. We can do that in a number of different ways. The first way, and the way that we've just been talking about, is money. We can have a $750 contribution from each company that can afford to make that kind of contribution. Who can really afford to make it? I don't know. If your budget's $150,000 a year in development, that's only 6% of your budget at $750. Or if it was $300,000 for your budget, it'd only be 3% of your budget. So we are talking about larger companies, but if you're an agency that's making money from this platform, or if you're a big retail shop, we need your help. And the first way is with money. Of course, we could talk about lower contribution tiers, but what we really need are contributors at this ambassador level so that we can quickly get to the point where we can afford a yearly salary for a full-time maintainer. The second way was code. You can sponsor Open Source Fridays at your company. This is something that was initiated by GitHub. And it doesn't have to be every Friday. It could be every Friday, but it scales. It could be just one Friday a month. It could be just one Friday a quarter that you as a company commit to saying, okay, we're all going to work on Solidus, or the project of your choice, but obviously we're talking about Solidus here. And finally, if you can't do that, if you can't find company time or money, maybe you can find some of your own time and organize a meetup just once per quarter. And if you're not sure how to do that, if we're as a community not sure exactly how to do that, we can look to Hacktoberfest from DigitalOcean as an example. They have a great event kit that outlines everything you need to host a great event. So let's get a commitment from everybody in this room to host an event once a quarter, or to participate in Open Source Friday, or to contribute a monetary amount. And if you can't do any of that, maybe you can join the Solidus stakeholders chat and participate in our regular meetings. And you might be asking yourself, what is that? And I'll explain in a moment. But first, I want to say a special thank you to the ambassadors that are already contributing today, leading through their example. I'm proud to say Karma is one of those. But Modded Euros, I have to especially call out and thank, because this is the first retail shop that came on to say, okay, we're going to step up to the plate and show everybody that it's important, even if you work in retail, to contribute back to this platform. We need 9 more ambassadors by my count to pay a salary of around $120,000 a year to developer. We could maybe have more and pay them more or less and find someone that's willing to do it for less. But we essentially need 9 more companies willing to step up to the plate. So I want to ask for a big thank you to these 5 companies, but also to all of the rest of you, because there's been a lot of other monthly donors, either individuals or companies donating at a lower amount. So thank you very much for your hard work and help. And you might be thinking, well, that's all well and good. I like a full-time maintainer, but that's not enough. Well, you get more. If you sign up as an ambassador, you get all this stuff. It's listed on our website. You can, and I think this is the first and most important point, that's why it's first, you can actively shape the direction and strategy of Solidus. So if you're a store that cares about where the platform is going, donate to Solidus. We'll make sure that we do something along the lines of what you want to do. Will be everything? Maybe not, but as a community, we can decide together if our stakeholders step up. And speaking of community, you'll also appear in the community section of our website. You'll get your logo on conference material. You'll be recognized in the README. You'll be mentioned during conferences. And you'll have the option, I suppose if you're an agency, this will only be applicable, to join our partnership program as a gold partner. You may be asking yourself now at this point, how did we get this far? How did we do all of this over the last year? The process has been a bit opaque. Sean Denny is going to explain to all of you tomorrow a lot more about what's happened over that last year, so I don't want to spoil too much of it. But suffice it to say that a lot has gone on ever since Sean organized Southeast Solidus last year and brought us together, and Stembolt broke the news that they were acquired by Jewel. Our community has been working, trying to reorganize. There's been people working behind the scenes. The first thing is just a Slack channel that we've been all talking in. The second thing is that we've been holding bi-weekly meetings over the course of the last year. But coming up to the conference, we felt that wasn't enough, so we started hosting meetings twice a week, every week. It seemed like quite a big increase in frequency, but it's what we needed to do to get it done, and we did get it done. And speaking of which, we organized this conference. We lined up the speakers. We had a fantastic speaker dinner last night where we were actually talking about real issues. We also opened Open Collective and started funding through it. And most importantly of all, we built trust and relationships that let us move forward together. Because without trust, there's no way for us to have an honest conversation about the direction of the platform or implementing a new roadmap or any of it. So you may have noticed that I'm wearing a shirt today that says Support Solidus. A few other people in the audience are as well. And some aren't wearing it. But if you're a speaker, if you're a core member, or if you're an ambassador, or even just someone who loves this platform and has contributed over this last year with even a single commit that got merged in, then you deserve a big round of applause. And I'd like to ask each one of you before we do that to find one of these people. Go find them. Go say thank you. If you're benefiting from this platform, go say thank you to one of the people, one of the core members that made this a reality this year. So can I ask the people wearing the shirts and anybody that's a core member to stand up for a round of applause? You guys are fantastic. Thank you so much. And that's it for my talk, everybody. Support Solidus with your code, by becoming an ambassador, or by donating your time. Together we can do this. We'll have a meeting on Wednesday, and Sean will tell you more, but I encourage all of you to find a new way to participate and to support the platform. Thank you very much.